Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the Product Biz podcast. You are listening to episode number 4. We're going to mention it again. Side note, one thing I'm super excited about is I'm being super scrappy with this podcast. Like I want to get like a nice intro track with music and have like a voiceover with my intro to the podcast and everything. But I'm totally just winging it, and you guys are here with me, and I always preach just to put yourself out there, and done is better than perfect, and I hope by the messiness of this podcast, you kind of see that in action. So back to episode number 4. We are talking all about the fear of rejection. And this has been coming up a lot with the small businesses inside Product Biz Academy, and what to do when you get a no or you attend a market and you didn't sell as much as you wanted and you just are really struggling with making the impact that you want and you're getting these no's, and it just feels like this situation where you're starting to doubt what you are even capable of doing. So today we will be talking all about the fear of rejection and what to do to overcome this fear. Are you ready to go behind the scenes and learn what it really takes to create consistent sales each and every month with your handmade small business? Join me, Monica Little, self-taught multiple six-figure small business owner and your product business coach, as I give you the insight and inspiration on how to better run your business and increase your sales in ways that you may not have even been aware of, so that your business can truly become what you knew it could be back when you first started. Learn how to let go of perfection, overcome the fear of failure that is holding you back, and finally start taking action so that you walk away feeling like you've cracked the code on how to run a successful small business. You're listening to the Product Biz podcast. Before we dive in, I do want to mention Listener of the Week. I'm actually pre-recording 9 episodes right now. So on the 11th episode, which will be a new episode, I will be then sharing the Listener of the Week, which is if you leave me a 5-star review, I will share your review live on episode 11 and onwards. And if your review gets shared, I will ask you to DM me with your mailing address and I'll send you something really fun in the mail. So not only are you helping me out, but you have a chance to win something really, really awesome. So please go to leave a 5-star review. I will love you until the end of time if you do, and I will appreciate it so much. But let's dive into this fear of rejection. And as always, I'm going to tell you a story of how this came with my business and what I experienced and how I can relate to what you're going through from the years that I've been running my own small business. So let me know if you can relate to this story. This was a couple years ago. I packed about 10 of my best sellers, my Heal and Glow facial serum and my avocado and algae face mask, in a cute little organza bag with a handwritten note introducing myself and what my brand was about. And I went down Armitage Street in Chicago with a plan to go into the little boutiques. There's a ton of great shopping down Armitage Street. And I was like, all right, packing up some of my best sellers. I'm going to pitch my products to some of these stores and see what happens. The very first store I went into, I walked around for a bit because I was pretty nervous. Finally got the courage and I asked the person behind the register if the store owner was there. She pointed me to a lady who was rearranging some jewelry in the other room. So I walked up to her and built as much confidence as I could and said, "Hi, are you the owner?" And she said, "Yes." The store, let me tell you, was full of shoppers, and I felt like everyone was listening to me, even though I'm sure no one was, but it was just this awkward situation. I'm an introvert. I'm putting myself out there. I'm trying to pitch my products. This is my first time doing it. And after I introduced myself, I reached into my bag to grab the little packet that I had of my bestsellers, and I started to say, "Well, it's nice to meet you. My name is Monica. I'm the owner of an organic skincare small business based here in Chicago. I wanted to see if there were any opportunities to sell in your shop, and I have a sample here for you to try." She shook her head, looked back down at what she was rearranging, and while she was looking down at what she was doing, she said, "We don't have room for skincare." Not even like talking to me or facing me or looking at me, literally went back to what she was doing and started to say, "No, sorry, I'm not interested." I was eager to tell her more. So I did tell her, like, you know what? My products have been selling really well in another similar boutique in Chicago. They've been flying off the shelves. I thought I would let you try them to see if you think that they would be a good fit. Still no budge. She continued to look at what she was rearranging, almost like she was ignoring me, like I wasn't even there. And she said she has some skincare. She's waiting for them to sell. They're moving kind of slow and she's not interested. So I thanked her for her time, put the sample back in my purse kind of sneakily because I didn't want anyone to see how awkward that was. And I walked around the store a little bit longer, again, very awkwardly because I didn't want to just bolt out of there. But finally, I slipped out of the store super sneakily, trying to make sure no one saw that interaction. When, of course, no one was looking, no one was listening, but awkward thoughts of an introvert, this is what goes through your head. So that didn't go as I wanted it to, right? And I was planning to stop by a few more stores that day. I remember going into the next store down the street. I just walked around the store. I didn't ask for the manager. I didn't leave any samples. And I ended up going back home with the 10 samples that I set out with, just feeling so defeated. If you can relate to that story, then you know I came home with a new fear. This is the fear of rejection, the fear of getting a no, the fear of thinking that my products weren't good enough. Something was wrong with me. Something was wrong with my products. Something was causing this no to happen. And maybe you can relate. Maybe you received a no from a store that you reached out to, so you're hesitant to reach out to any more. Maybe you applied to Faire and you got waitlisted, so you wonder if your business is good enough for these large platforms. Maybe you applied for a market and you got rejected, so you wonder, what's wrong with my products? What's wrong with my business? My branding is something repelling these opportunities. And I just had a coaching call yesterday with Diana, who's in Product Biz Academy, and she was saying that she participated in a market and she had someone that rolled their eyes at her, person that came up to her table to learn more about her products and rolled her eyes. And she said she just felt discouraged. And this is how it transposes, right? She had this market interaction that happened, and then she had reached out to a couple stores and they didn't get back. And now she was combining those two experiences and saying, should I even reach out to more stores? Because I'm getting all of these like no's and rejections and it's just not working for me. So should I still reach out? And one thing that I want to mention is when I got this rejection that I told you about, my products were in one retail store, and that one retail store was in Chicago. Today, my products are sold in over 100 stores across the US and across Europe. So today we'll be talking, how do you overcome this fear of rejection so it doesn't stop you in your tracks and doesn't stop your business from growing? Because I could have easily took that first no, took that first awkward experience and started to think that I'm not cut out for this. But it's what you do when you get that rejection. That's what matters. And if you've ever received a no in your business, then you're probably like most people, and chances are you feel discouraged, like I did, like that example with Diana I was just talking about. Maybe you start to doubt yourself. You start to doubt your products. You'd start to doubt that you are even capable. Or maybe thoughts of why me start to creep in. Why do I always have this bad luck? Why doesn't anything work out for me? Why do other people seem to have it so much easier? What I want to challenge you is to think of another way to handle rejection. And that's to be okay with rejection and to look at it as redirection instead. What if instead of thinking if I get rejected, it means I'm a failure, we start to think if I get rejected, it means I should try in another way. Rejection is redirection. Don't let the fear of rejection stop you and instead learn from it. Do you think most small business owners run the entire trajectory of their business without ever getting a no? Of course not. It's part of running a business. And I have another example during one of the Product Biz Academy coaching calls. Benedicta, she was so nervous to call a store owner back in case she would get a no. She had already talked to the store owner once and the conversation went good and they were planning a second call, but the store owner didn't answer. So now there was this fear of getting a no if she called again. Like, what if she didn't answer because she's no longer interested? Like, should I call a third time? Should I leave a message? What if I get a hold of her and she says no? Isn't it better for me just to not call instead of potentially getting that no? And what I challenge Benedicta in this situation is saying, if you can take the emotion out of it, if you by chance do get a no, what does that really mean? Most of us internalize it and we start to take it personally and we add emotion behind it. We think that a no means I'm not good enough. But if you take the emotion out of it, a no, it just means no, thank you, not right now. Maybe it's not a good fit. And that's redirection. A no is a sign for where you should focus, where you should put your attention. And think about your favorite board game as a kid. And we were just talking about this with my intuition coach, Jill. She is the best. And she gave this analogy. And I was like, oh, perfect analogy. Have to mention this when I'm talking about the fear of rejection. So imagine you're a kid and you're playing your favorite board game. And my favorite board game as a kid was Candyland. I loved all of the sparkles and the glitter and the candy, and I was obsessed with that game. But imagine your favorite game and you're playing it, and no matter what, when you would play with your siblings, you would lose. And when I was a kid, when I was like 6 or 7 or 8 years old, I was the biggest sore loser, and I would cry every time I lost. I had a lot of emotion behind losing and rejection, and I was internalizing it as not being good enough. I would lose a game as a young kid and I would cry thinking that I wasn't good enough. I'm never going to win. I'm not good at this game, making it a big deal when in reality, it meant nothing. I lost a game. Life goes on. Of course, as a kid, maybe some know that and some don't, but looking back, it's like there was so much emotion that was charged behind this. But if you take the emotion out, you see it as a game, and you can see how to become more strategic and how to become better at the game. You learn to play the board game in a better way. So how can we take this with everything that we do in our small business? When you try something scary and it doesn't go as planned, when you get a rejection, when you fail, don't beat yourself up. Don't get angry. Don't go into this spiral. All of that is nothing but a distraction. We have to know that rejection is part of running a business. So instead of being distracted with beating yourself up or getting angry or going inside your shell or doubting yourself, the thing that we need to do is right away find one small thing that you can improve and get at it. When you get a rejection, you want to hit it right back like a game of tennis and take immediate action. You don't want to get distracted in those emotions of self-doubt and pity and like wondering if I'm good enough. You don't want to let rejection stop you. And you do this by not giving it the chance. So trust. We have to trust when something doesn't work out the way that we planned. It's because there's a lesson so you can achieve something so much greater. It's not always what you planned, but find the lesson in it. Every single challenge that you face is happening for you. It's not happening to you. Nothing in life is happening to you. It's happening for you. It's happening for you so you can learn a lesson, so you can adjust, so you can grow, so you can become better. When we think that things are happening to us, that's when we start to internalize it and we start to question and we start to doubt. But when things are happening for us, we start to look at it as room to grow. So you should feel like you have an advantage when things aren't perfect. because that means that you'll experience different areas of growth that you didn't know you were capable of. If you're not getting any rejection at all, the only time that happens is if you're not reaching out, if you're not doing things outside of your comfort zone, if you're staying in the same spot. That's the only way you can omit rejection and never have to overcome it and never have to deal with it. But if you're putting yourself out there, you will face rejection. So it comes down to being grateful for rejection, because each no, every time things aren't going our way, it's telling us where we have to grow in order to take your business to the next level. So let's talk about those couple examples that I opened up with. If you didn't get accepted to Faire, instead of internalizing that rejection, this is redirection. How can you amp up your website? How can you amp up your social media for the next time you apply? How can you work on your branding so next time they're like, oh yeah, that's an easy yes, we need this brand. Look at this branding. Look at these products. I know what this brand is about. It's room to grow. If you're turned down by a big market, how can you amplify your branding so the market coordinator next time knows you are a fit? I see so many small businesses complaining that they didn't get into the top market. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, if you didn't get in, what are you doing to up-level your business? If you got to know if 300 spots are available and 3,000 businesses apply, you're going to have to be the best of the best. And if no is saying you're not there yet, then let's get to work. Let's figure out what we can adjust and what we can do and what we can amplify. So next time you're in there with the top small businesses that are part of it, every no is telling you where you should redirect your focus. If you're turned down by a store, what can you do differently to find the right store owners and to connect with them? Complaints are clues. I want that to be the one thing that you take from this episode. Well, okay, second thing. Number one, fear of rejection. Rejection happens. Let's take action if rejection happens. Rejection is redirection. All right, multiple main takeaways from this episode. But one of the main takeaways that I want you to walk away with is complaints are clues. If you are complaining about something, if you are not happy about something, then that is a clue that there's some work to do. So notice these patterns that come up. What are you complaining about? It's a clue. Instead of just complaining to complain, be like, all right, I'm going to look at my complaints and figure out where should I focus my time. Notice the pattern. And then what matters, what only matters, is what you do after the rejection. Because the season's not over if you lose one game. And we're going to lose some games along the way, all right? I'm not shooting for a perfect, undefeated season with my small business. And if you are, then that is a tough road you're going to be on. The season's not over if you lose a game. Work your hardest, but if you lose a game, if you get a rejection, just get back into practice. Get back into the next game. Get back into thinking, what can you do better to beat your next opponent? And you get to choose to see rejection as guidance. So what did I do in this situation? I opened this episode with the store owner that I walked in, and I felt like that was just the hardest thing for me as an introvert. Hard to even put into words like what I felt like. I felt like a fly on the wall that didn't get heard. And as I walked out of there, I just felt embarrassed and ridiculous. And it was just not a pleasant experience at all. But like I said, now I'm in over 100 stores. So what did I do? I continued to put myself out there. I tried the in-person approach a lot more. I did get the courage to go back to stores and to reach out to them in person. I didn't give up. But I also noticed that it wasn't really working that well. And a rejection is redirection. So I decided to take a step back. Complaints are clues, right? All right, I'm reaching out to all these stores. I'm going in, I'm talking to them. It's not really resonating. It's not working. What can I do differently? And I decided to focus on other ways to reach out to stores by sending emails and by optimizing wholesale e-commerce platforms. And maybe the way that I see it, maybe I was purposefully rejected in person so many times so I could be pushed towards learning how to get into more stores in a more efficient way and in a scalable way, which led to my products being in over 100 stores across the US and Europe. When I think about getting into 100 stores from the way that I was doing it when I first started, there's no way I would be in all the stores that I am. Just geographically, I'm in stores across the US. There's no way I would physically go to those stores and pitch my products in person. So rejection is redirection. I went back, I recouped, I looked at the complaints and the clues that they were leading to me, and I found a more scalable way to do it. And I figured out where to focus my time and energy to get in front of retailers who were actually looking for items on their shelves. The best things happen. And there's a lot of perspective that you gain when things don't go your way. Rejection can be the greatest guide of all. So if you get rejected from a store or a market or an e-commerce marketplace, what I want to know is what's your next play? How are you getting ready for the next game? What are you doing today to get over that rejection? And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Product Biz Podcast. A couple of reminders I want to leave you with. Number one, follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is at Monica Little Coaching. I love to connect and converse with you on there. Send me a DM. Let me know what you thought. Always happy to hear from you on the gram. And if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to listen to episode 6, which is all about becoming the next level of you and what it takes to reach that next level of your business. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here inside the Product Biz Podcast. If you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe and to leave a 5-star review. And if you're interested in learning more about Product Biz Academy, my signature group coaching program for handmade small business owners like you who are looking to create consistent online sales with their business, then go to theproductbizpodcast.com to join the waitlist. Doors are currently closed, but you'll be first notified when they reopen. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Product Biz Podcast.